We'll see if I can do this, okay? Anyway, it's my pleasure to introduce Ken Kruger. He's principal at Trinity Lutheran School. Ken says, "I'm blessed to be a child of God." He was born to a Christian household in Milwaukee and attended Lutheran Church, Missouri Synod churches and schools throughout his entire life. He's the oldest of 5 children, has a daughter, 2 sons of his own from his marriage that was celebrated since November of 2008. Ken currently serves as principal at Trinity Lutheran School, or Trinity Lutheran Ministries, as we call it. He's earned a bachelor's degree in elementary education from Concordia University in Mequon. He completed a master's degree in education with an emphasis in administration, curriculum development from Concordia, Mequon, and Van London Fellowship Program for Educational Executive Management held at Calvin University in Grand Rapids, Michigan. His professional experience includes teaching in elementary and middle school classrooms in Billings, Montana, San Francisco, Wauwatosa, Wisconsin, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and Racine. He also was at can't even pronounce it. Cuyahoga Falls in Ohio. So with that to do, Ken, it's all yours.
Daryl told me, oh yeah, do you want to set that?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm also looking at the clock. I want to be respectful of your time. He told me 20 minutes and we'll be able to stick to that. So Daryl, thank you. Thank you to all of you for allowing me to come today. It's a blessing and an honor to speak to you because Daryl filled me in on so much that you're doing for the community and beyond. He just told me that some of you have been helping out with people in Nicaragua. That's just amazing to know that not only are you looking to take care of our own here, but going well beyond the city limits. So I'm not looking to insult any of you, but in case you don't know where we're located, we're at, 600 Water Street, just down the road this way. It's a little bit cumbersome to get to us right now because Buchanan Street is getting ripped up, but for good reason. We're thankful that the homes around there are gonna get nice piping for water, and we're making do. We get to use the historic Brick Street a little bit more, that is Fillmore. And I'll tell you, I still haven't gotten used to that rumbling. I don't know if I ever will, but it's neat to be in the neighborhood that we are. I'll tell you, growing up in Milwaukee, very inner city, I've never experienced the care, the joy, and just the camaraderie that Edwardsville and the greater area. I technically live in Glen Carbon, but overall that all of you have, whether you're lifers or not. My family feels very welcomed, and this contributes to that. Your group being open arms for me to come today. So Daryl, again, thank you. So Daryl asked me to speak about our school. And we have a rich history here in Edwardsville. Our church opened in 1901, and some years later, about 20 years, 30 years later, the school came about. And throughout that time, it's ebbed and flowed with families coming in, joining. There was a great migration, especially in the 60s and 70s, all the way through the 90s, with the church having a school for itself, and then over time realizing, well, the mission is more than just who belongs to our church. And at one time, double grades went through the school, and then as enrollment changed, there was a sense of, okay, we can still work with who God is sending to us. And at the end, if we can keep moving and we don't need, we're not supposed to have so many kids, so be it. Well, since COVID came about, enrollment was around 200 coming out of COVID, that fall of 2020. And now God has blessed us with adding 120 kids within a matter of 2 years. Contribute that to families just looking for either something different. I know a fair amount of families had kids on remote, and I will just state this. I'm just thankful that schools tried, right? There were many that tried their best with how that situation was, whether they had to be remote or they tried in person, a hybrid. I'm just thankful that we tried, because it could have been a lot worse if we didn't. And it's just neat to know that there is still that push for trying to get beyond what happened for COVID, and not just in education. I don't know how many of you are business owners or, right, you've been in your field for so long. I mean, you had your own struggles to deal with, and I'm thankful that you too found a way to get by and do what you needed to, be innovative and in moving forward. And so with that, we are back at a point where we're talking about, do we add to our building? Do we restructure how our building's being used? First off, it's a groundswell. Daryl is very proud. He said, make sure you talk about the preschool. We have a program that starts at 2 years old and we go all the way to 8th grade. But our preschool runs through 4-year-olds. We have a 4-year-old program in pre-K, as we call it. We have over 120 students there, 60 of them alone in the 4s. And so we already have a double kindergarten this year, and we're discussing how do we move forward? What can we do to, like you do with serving this community, how can we serve our community? Is there going to be this big influx for a while? And we want to be smart. We don't want to assume that everything, just like the years prior, that there's always going to be a bumper crop of students. But we want to make sure that we have the opportunity to serve our community, and we'll see where things go. We've had many students come through our school that I've heard over the years that attend. I mean, how fantastic was that to hear a lovely speech about Izzy, right? And you know, that's partly, well, that is part of why we exist. And then to know that our students go on to Edwardsville High School as well, and be able to show off the skills that they've learned, as well as, you know, through their actions and maybe sometimes through their words, their faith. And I think that having that kind of legacy, to be able to have students move on and to be productive, whether it's they're going to stay here or Western Kentucky, that'd be great. Who knows what if she goes there, and from there where she goes. I think that there is a great legacy that gets built upon once they leave Trinity. One of the first compliments I got from an Edwardsville High School teacher was they said, you know, we really like Trinity's writing program. I said, really? And she said, yes, I don't know what you do. Maybe you put something in the water, but they can come out and write. And it's not, I'm not talking about typing. They get paper, pencil, and they can write. And I said, well, I'm glad that's still a skill that we're looking to use today, right? Because too many times we're right in front of, and there's a place for it. And so if that's our niche within the public school, that we have kids that can write, fine, that's great. And I know that they do much more, but it's neat to know that I was brand new. I've only been here since June of 21. And so for someone to reach out to me or meet me from the high school and say, I just want to let you know this, again, is a testament to this whole area. And as far as, you know, schools like to tout students, you know, our school produced this student, or our school, you know, has this many accolades because these children did this. Our school within our Lutheran Church Missouri Synod has some accolades on on the teacher along with administrator side. We've had two principals make their way into our own version of superintendent, and we also have a national superintendent that their offices reside in St. Louis. Terry Schmidt was principal at Trinity Edwardsville, and then made his way to run all of our schools for the Lutheran Church Missouri Synod. And Roger Springle ended up being a superintendent for what we call the Southern Illinois District. And so there's a legacy there too. And not saying that those people, it's just because they came to Trinity that they were able to make those leaps, but it's a testament to who the Lord has led to our school. And I think that's fantastic to be able to look back and see what was done and learn from it, right? Because I don't know what you know about Lutherans, but sometimes we get pigeonholed that once we do something, we're there. Like, well, we've been doing this for 100 years. Okay, why? Well, that's just because the way we do it. Well, in the case of education or anything that you do business wise, you understand that sure, there could be something that we could learn from how we did things years ago, but we need to be able to progress. We need to be able to meet people where they're at today. And so the word change can be nails on a chalkboard, especially in my circles. But in the end, if we're looking to serve our community, we need to be able to understand who we're serving and what needs to be done to meet them. And I feel that, again, I haven't been here very long, but that our school does that. Otherwise, we wouldn't be open. So with that, I'll lead into currently, I don't know if any of you know much about the Emerson's Teaching Excellence Award. We had Miss Megan Langendorf, our second grade teacher, just received that honor last month, and next month she's going to be formally awarded. And it's a great testament to not just Megan, but our teaching staff and how dedicated they are, and not only making disciples, but also making sure that kids are prepared for the next level of education and their vocation or in college. And so I think that we have a lot going for us, and mainly it's not just because of what we are doing, but understanding our role in the community. And I know that not everyone is on board with Christian education, and that's okay. But I think that there's enough respect and the opportunity to be cordial that this all works. And I'm very thankful that we have the opportunity to, let you know what we're doing and how we're serving our community. We have a National Juniors Honor Society, and right now they're planning to be a part of a soup kitchen or hand out meals somewhere in the area. We had it last year, and COVID kind of kept us at bay and doing stuff at Trinity, but it's neat to know that we have students who understand what serving is, and hopefully one day, maybe they'll be able to be a part of Rotary or something along those lines, and be able to carry that on and make connections and do it in a much more widespread way. So I thank you for, again, Daryl and all of you, for this opportunity to talk about what's happening at 600 Water Street. And it's great to know that we're supported, regardless if you were ever a part of Trinity or are a part of Trinity or had your kids in the school. It's just good to know that we are a part of a community where we feel supported. So are there any questions for me in regards to specifics that are happening in school? Yes. So our enrollment overall is 321 right now. We have bumper crop through sixth grade. We're over 20 kids. The kindergarten we split, we have 17 in each of those. We're graduating 9 this year. I'm attributing it to birth rate because I looked across the board, talking to other schools, and even in the public schools, right? I mean, there's a lot of double, triple, quadruple classes, but a lot of those homerooms are on the smaller side too. So that class thinks they're unique because they're the only single digit, and they like to tout that. Okay, if you think that's cool, great. Well, we can work with that. And the neat thing about that is too, a lot of 6 of them started at least kindergarten and have stayed the way through. So yeah, 321. And I just got a call today from a family that's coming out of town from Georgia and are interested in our school. So yeah, the number changes on the day, but that's where we're at today, right now. Yes. Yes. Okay, so tuition. So this year we have a tuition of $3,600 and registration fee runs $140. So that $3,600 is for kindergarten through 8th grade. And then we offer discounts as you bring on more children. There's a rate for 2 children, a rate for 3, but we stop at 3. And if you're bringing 3 or more than 3, I mean, that's fantastic. And we understand that, right, tuition, some people can have a hard swallow and like, how am I going to make this happen? And we try to meet people. So along those ways, right, we offer, we don't call it scholarships. We call it financial. We do call it financial aid. And one way is we have 2 ways about it. One is our church has some funds that helps offset costs. And then thankfully, we have a church and school that was smart enough to start an endowment years and years ago, and we're able to draw from that as well. Thankfully, though, our tuition is set at we feel it's a sweet spot because we don't have very many families needing to ask for financial aid. Some schools have higher tuitions and a fair amount of people can make it, but then they've got a bunch of people filing for financial aid, and that's okay. But if we don't need to constantly be in that, we've got to look over all this paperwork, and we find a number that works for families as well as we pay the bills, then I think we're in a great spot there. Yes.
With the advent of COVID, have you had any experience with a shortage of teachers, hiring process?
Okay, so coming out of COVID at Trinity, no, not really, not faculty wise. We did have some struggles, and actually even coming into this year, finding teacher assistants, aides. I was sweating hard. The day before, I filled our last spot for a 3rd and 4th grade teacher's aide. As far as substitute teachers, yeah, that was a struggle. We had a couple that requested to be off the list just because they didn't want to be through the building, and they're there once in a while, they're not acclimated. And thankfully, we had one woman who said, I will come, but it's got to be this room only because that's who I associate with the most. Well, and if she's the only one available and that's where I need her, I mean, I'll have her come, right? So we weren't too affected by that. The school that I was at prior in Ohio, though, during that time, I had 2 teachers say, if we cannot be in person, I will retire. And one of them was nowhere near retirement age. They were going to do something else. So this, right, like with anything else, the stresses were real and still kind of are. But thankfully, Trinity did not really get rocked too hard by COVID and then coming out of COVID. Yes.
You mentioned adding on earlier. Do you have room for that, or would this require buying more property?
Okay, so we do have a little bit of room, not much, and actually, we would need to, in the end, yes, we would need to acquire some property, and we'll see how that plays out. We're doing a 5-year case study before we really commit to building. And partly why is, unfortunately, we had a sister school in Troy, St. Paul. They had for their size school, had a nice little increase, and they went all in on a building project, and then they decreased for whatever, I don't know why, and then the mortgage just set them, they had to shut down their school. And so, well, I'll take that back. They have a preschool still, but they're not a K-8. So they have a lot of open building and they're still paying on it. And so we're gonna go pretty slow, and we want to be respectful of what our congregation brings in for offering, as well as the tuition dollars that people pay. So what we're going to do is need be look into, and I got to talk with the city if we get there, about portables, and then from there, if the numbers are there, then we say, okay, let's start our fundraising, and let's talk about that. But yes, it would be nice if some property came up around us. Our situation is very unique. Daryl, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think at one time that was that was part of a neighborhood where our school was. There were homes there, right? Yes. And so we are behind like 3 homes. We're set back, if you've been by us, and it's from the standpoint of being away from the busyness. We're not on a busy road. It's fantastic. And the neighbors have been very good, at least since I've been here. I've heard some stories, but overall, since I've been here, it's been fine. And who knows what will happen when those go up. I know that too, in between one of our drives and there's a home, we have open land, but I believe there's an old building that sat there once, and I don't think we're interested in building there at this time, but I could be wrong. So, but I think it'd be better if we did try to build elsewhere if something were to open up. Yeah. Yes.
I heard a rumor, I don't know if this is true, but is it true that Daryl actually attended school there when the church first opened?
When the church first opened? You want to confirm or deny that, Daryl?
I spent all 8 years plus 1 year of kindergarten history. Yes.
Back in 1901? 1901? Not that, no, yes. Yeah, but see, isn't that great? Someone who has stuck around and is still contributing, right? I mean, we all have those type of stories, regardless of your background. I think that's fantastic that Daryl thought of me or our school, our Trinity Lutheran Ministries, to be able to share. You know, obviously he's proud, otherwise he wouldn't have asked me to come. So yeah, it's neat to have those stories. And that's another thing. Great question, because what comes to mind is we have a fair amount of families. They went themselves as children, and now they've come back, and they've brought their kids. Maybe they're part of the church, maybe they're not, but certainly their children are in the school. And right now we actually have a couple. They have 3 daughters, and they met at Trinity and married, and are coaching volleyball and basketball, very active. So even though I just told my 7th grade daughter, there's a 6th grade boy interested, they're going to a dance tomorrow, and she's like, I don't know, maybe. I'm like, no, not happening, and she's like, but Mr. and Mrs. O'Brien. I said, yep, that's like lightning in a bottle, dear. I highly doubt this. I highly doubt that this young man is going to be your love for life. But I don't, it's just great that you hear those stories, right? Yeah. So yes, very good. Oh, yeah, I thought the claps like, hey, he's got to go. Are we?
You have 5 more minutes.
Okay, all right. Are there any other questions? All right, again, thank you for all you do, and thank you for allowing me to share what's happening at Trinity. Bless you all. God bless.